Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. 3 days after voters in Eupora went to the polls to choose a mayor, the race has been decided by a close margin. Deputy City Clerk Jenny Hatcher tells us election commissioners canvassed ballots again this morning, and the final count has Lamar Dumas with 313 votes to Tommy Lott's 311. After election officials counted ballots Wednesday, the two were tied. That led to this morning's recount. Dumas will become the first African-American to serve as mayor of Eupora. Well, there's more fallout surrounding legal violation allegations in the Caledonia mayoral race. In what was supposed to be the fourth examination of the ballots for the mayor election, turned into a request for an all-new election altogether. Corky Smith, who is candidate Mitchell Wiggins' attorney, is accusing the Caledonia Chief of Election Commission, Ken Byers, of carrying the unsealed ballot box home the night of the elections. After hearing the news, the board deliberated for an hour and a half, unanimously deciding to set the entire election aside, including alderman elections.
We were concerned with several election law violations. Those were presented to the commission, and they arrived at their unanimous decision, which, I had confidence that they would after looking at the facts, the law, and especially that the Supreme Court has already decided this on a number of occasions. We want to make sure that everybody's vote is safeguarded, there's integrity at the ballot box.
Until the election date is set, all aldermen and the mayor will act in those positions. Byers resigned from his post. According to Aberdeen Mayor Maurice Howard, the Board of Aldermen voted to hire Richard Smith as the electric department's new director, but other aldermen say the current director, Brian Sanders, was never fired. 3 aldermen and the Aberdeen city attorney were present at a second meeting yesterday to reinstate electric department head Brian Sanders. However, the mayor did not attend. Instead, his public relations officer handed out minutes supplied by the mayor describing his version of Tuesday's meeting. Over the phone, City Attorney Robert Folks told WCBI the news from the board meeting have not yet been prepared and will not be official until the next board meeting, when they will be certified. There was no quorum at yesterday's meeting, and business was continued until the next board meeting.
As of right now, we made a vote within the last part of the board meeting that we voted, 3 of us voted to rehire. But he wasn't fired.
I had stood up and had walked over to the door to go out, and so had Mr. Sykes. The meeting was over. Bob Fox, again, the attorney, urged those other 3 to do that, and that was very illegal.
This controversy has left many more questions than answers. The next meeting where this will be discussed amongst the board and the mayor will be June 19th. Amory residents gather to honor the life of Sergeant Kyle Thomas. The streets of Amory now have American flags and ribbons throughout the downtown area. The funeral service for Sergeant Thomas will be held at 2 p.m. following the visitation today. A second visitation for Sergeant Thomas is being held as we speak at First Baptist Church in Amory. Amory citizens were encouraged to line the streets afterwards with a silent flag line at the intersection of Main Street and 3rd Avenue South. The procession will travel north on Main Street and continue west on 5th Avenue North toward the cemetery. It is time to get a first look at our afternoon forecast. Here's meteorologist Alex Puckett. Hey, Alex.
Hey, Renee, a nice day shaping up for us across northeast Mississippi and west Alabama. Here's a view of our Alpha Insurance Skycam in Tupelo, where we're still dealing with blue skies. A few puffy clouds popping up on the Columbus camera this afternoon, but all in all, a nice day in store for us. Temperatures in the upper 70s to near 80 degrees. Those winds very light and variable today as well. As we go through the rest of the day, temperatures going to top out in the low to mid 80s in the afternoon. Another nice day. We warm things up for the weekend, and we'll bring the rain chances on the board as we get into next week. I'll have details on that in my full forecast coming up in a few more minutes. Renee?
All right, Alex, thank you. A $2,000 price tag that police are hoping will bring a wanted suspect to justice. The search continues for the Bruce man who police say shot his girlfriend twice in cold blood. Investigators have been looking for 37-year-old Adrian Leon Golden for a week now. After allegedly gunning down the victim, police say Golden made a run for it in a nearby wooded area on Highway 32 near Joe's Market. The manhunt for Golden has spanned several counties and includes a number of agencies. If you see him, call 911. Well, he faces nearly a dozen charges after police say he pointed a gun at officers. 32-year-old Lionel Joseph Staton is charged with 1 count of felony fleeing, 1 count of aggravated assault with a vehicle, 4 counts of aggravated assault, and 4 counts of aggravated assault on a police officer. The Mississippi Bureau of Investigation says Staton is a suspect in a robbery attempt at a Corinth restaurant. This past Saturday, Alcorn County law enforcement followed his vehicle into Tishomingo County. State troopers and county deputies then joined in the pursuit. MBI says Staton's vehicle was disabled and he ran from the car with a gun. Investigators believe the Corinth man attempted to point the gun toward officers, and that's when law enforcement fired. Staton's bond was set at $500,000. And staying in Tishomingo County, the Sheriff's Department is hoping you can help find this Iuka woman. Susie Renae Lanier was last seen Tuesday, June 6th, around the County Road 255 area of Tishomingo County. Lanier has blonde hair and green eyes. She's around 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighs about 115 pounds. If you know where she is or if you have information that can help, call the Sheriff's Department. When there's an emergency, these men and women are trained to be prepared to answer the call. Some emergencies involve multiple agencies and several rescue missions. This was the case last week in Tupelo when an SUV carrying 4 young people dropped nearly 90 feet from the highway down into Town Creek. From rope to swift water rescues, these men and women are trained for it all, but each scenario comes with its own set of problems.
Anything that is washed down Town Creek from up creek that's hidden under the surface, you just have to, every step has to be intentional and deliberate and planned out for reaction to knowing where that next footstep's going to land.
Besides battling the terrain and current, rescuers also have to deal with the emotional toll of what can be heartbreaking work. Tupelo Fire Chief Thomas Walker says his department, along with the agencies involved, are glad they could help bring closure to the victims' families yesterday. Well, next on Midday, we learn the final moments of an Alabama teen who died in a bus crash while heading to a mission trip overseas. Those stories and more after this. Welcome back to Midday. At least one person is dead after a church bus overturned near Atlanta Thursday afternoon before she died in a bus crash outside of Atlanta. An Alabama teen wrote in her journal that God had called her to a mission trip in Africa for a reason. 17-year-old Sarah was killed Thursday afternoon when a church bus carrying a group of young people prepared for the mission trip crashed. Police say the Mount Zion Baptist Church bus from Huntsville was headed to the airport when it collided with another vehicle in a 4-lane road.
Our church staff has done an excellent job in terrible conditions and knowing the situation that was going on. And now it's time to just wrap your arms around them and love them.
At least 21 people were hurt and 9 were taken to the hospital for treatment. President Donald Trump hosted mayors and governors from around the country to an infrastructure summit at the White House yesterday. After the summit, Governor Phil Bryant, along with governors from New Hampshire and Florida, stated they were pleased with the Trump administration's goals and partnership efforts with states on infrastructure, and they were able to touch on issues pertaining to their own states that were discussed in the summit.
But we have to get energy to markets, and we will work with the president, who was engaged, gave us a tremendous opportunity to talk to him about how we will move energy to markets and how those of us that are in rural states will look to work with the federal government in deregulation and making sure that the 25% of the money now that is not being spent on roads and bridges will go to that cause.
The Vice President and Secretary of Transportation were also in attendance. Well, President Trump is declaring victory this afternoon after James Comey's testimony on Capitol Hill Thursday. But not everyone agrees with the president's conclusion. We bring you the details from the White House.
President Trump broke his silence about James Comey's Senate testimony. He tweeted this morning, "Despite so many false statements and lies, total and complete vindication." And wow, Comey is a leaker. Comey testified he told President Trump he was not under investigation, but he also said the president pressured him to end the probe into fired National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
I was fired in some way to change, or the endeavor was to change the way the Russia investigation was being conducted. That is a very big deal.
And Comey asked a friend to pass along notes from that conversation to the press after he was fired.
I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
CBS News has learned that President Trump's personal attorney will file a complaint with the Senate and Justice Department saying Comey's leak was unauthorized and contained privileged information.
We will leave it to the appropriate authorities to determine whether these leaks should be investigated along with all the others that are being investigated.
Lawmakers left Thursday's hearing split about what it all means.
President Trump engaged in inappropriate and unethical behavior.
Whether it rises to criminality, I think there's significant doubts about whether it rises to that level.
The investigation continues next week when staffers will interview President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner.
Senate Intelligence Committee leaders are also hoping to talk with Robert Mueller next week. He's the special counsel tasked with leading the investigation of Russian interference in the presidential election. Well, Pets Without Partners next on Midday, but first let's get a look at our forecast before we head to break. Alex.
If you're heading to the beach this weekend, looking like the weather's going to be fairly nice, at least through Saturday. We'll bring the chance in for some scattered showers and storms on Sunday. I'll have details of what you can expect.